Let's talk some chess. You've probably heard of Kyler Murray, who plays quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. He was drafted first overall in 2019. He's had plenty of special moments on the gridiron, but what you might not know is that he's also a big chess player. He loves playing before games and in the locker room, sort of to strengthen his analytical mindset and improve his strategic thinking. And in this game, which was played last year, he's playing against Chidobe Awuzie, who's another NFL player, plays for the secondary, in the secondary for the Cincinnati Bengals, which is actually the position that sort of defends Kyler on the field. It's the defender who's sort of defending against passes and batting down passes. So sort of funny, these two players are playing against each other on the NFL field and here on the chessboard as well. So really cool game. You don't often get a chance to sort of analyze two celebrities, not celebrities, but you get the point, two sort of famous people that are not professional chess players playing a chess game against each other. So this is a cool opportunity, and it's a pretty strong game, as we'll see. So let's kick it off with e4 from Kyler. We have c5, the Sicilian defense. d4, c takes on d4, queen takes on d4, and now knight to c6, attacking the queen, and the queen just retreats back to d1. We have knight to f6, attacking that pawn on e4, f3 protecting the pawn, and d6. So very standard moves so far. Knight to c3, g6, preparing to fianchetto the bishop, bishop to c4, bishop to g7 as prepared, bishop to f4, and kingside castle by Awuzie. So both sides have pawns in the center of the board. Both sides have developed multiple minor pieces. Awuzie has castled kingside. Kyler, his next move is knight g to e2, preparing to castle kingside. So these are two players who know their way around the chessboard. They understand how to play. They're strong players, and so going to be fun to see sort of how this game develops. Awuzie here plays knight to h5, and this is not the best principled move. You never want to put your knight sort of on the side of the board where it attacks and controls less squares. The idea here is to sort of capture this bishop on f4. This is a strong dark squared bishop, and it would be great to sort of exchange this knight for this bishop. Kyler here should play bishop to e3, getting the bishop out of harm's way, but instead he castles kingside. We really can't blame him to sort of getting the king to safety, and this allows knight takes on f4. Knight takes back on f4, and now bishop to d4, bringing the bishop to a central square, checking the king, and the queen can't take because the knight protects the bishop on d4. So king to h1 by Kyler. We have e5 cementing that bishop on d4. Knight f to d5, getting the knight out of harm's way. And now a6 by Awuzie, preparing this b5 move. Kyler plays one of my favorite moves of the game here. He plays, that's not the move. He plays a4, which prevents this b5 move. But this is just this a4 move is nice because it's kind of the move you see high-level players playing. They're anticipating some expansion on the queen side, and they're combating that expansion with an expansion of their own. So a nice move from Kyler here. And now we have not b5. Now we have bishop to e6 by Awuzie. f4 by Kyler, really starting with the idea of breaking things open on the king side, getting an attack going with his pieces, and now bishop takes on c3 by Awuzie, b takes on c3, doubling up these pawns, and Awuzie is going to try to take advantage of that as the game goes on. And here we have knight to a5 by Awuzie, the second time that he's brought his knight to the edge of the board, and the second time that that knight is attacking bishop in the center of the board. And here Kyler makes the correct move. He retreats the bishop to a5, getting it out of harm's way, and sort of keeping it on this really strong diagonal that lines up with the enemy king. So the proper defense here from Kyler. And now Awuzie plays a move that looks reasonable. The move is rook to c8, puts the rook on a semi-open file and attacks this weak c3 pawn, which is only defended once, and it's very easy to remove this defender with bishop captures and then just pick up the pawn. But the problem with this is it allows for Kyler to get this f5 move in. The proper move for Awuzie here is just to capture the pawn on f4 and then kind of continue on your way, but now Kyler gets this f5 move in, and all of a sudden you have real threats on the king side. So the pawn obviously is attacking the bishop, threatening to break up the pawn structure in front of the king, and it's not really clear the best way to defend here. So Awuzie goes for bishop takes on d5, which is not terrible. We have queen takes on d5, setting up a battery with the bishop and the queen on this wonderful diagonal. And here Awuzie makes the second kind of big mistake, which starts to put things out of hand, which is, that's not the mistake. The mistake is knight to c6. And, it's never good when you make a move. So the knight came to a5, and then a couple of moves later, you reverse that move with knight to c6. the idea here is you're trying to get back in defense of the king, maybe come to e7 and attack the queen, but this is too slow. The better move here, as I inadvertently showed, is rook to c5, a nice rook lift that attacks the queen and forces the queen away from this diagonal. If the rook is on c5, all of these squares are protected by Wouzier's pieces, and Kyler has to get his queen away from this diagonal and sort of start over with his attack. But instead, Wouzier plays knight to c6, and now this allows for Kyler to sort of push on with his attack without having to worry about moving the queen. And Kyler here plays f6, really just jamming this pawn on the 6th rank. It's protected by the rook on f1, so the queen can't capture. And now, of course, this pawn is doing a nice job of hemming in the enemy king. So Wouzier plays queen to d7 here, trying to get some counterplay, get the queen into open space on the king side. But now Kyler finds what is essentially the winning move of the game to kick off his combination finishing attack. So take a second, pause the video, and see if you can find Kyler's move while I give you a couple of seconds. Okay, I like this move because it's sort of thematic of what a quarterback does in football. They drop back to pass, and then they throw it forward. So sort of retreat before attacking forward. That's exactly what Kyler does here. He plays queen to d7. Queen to d2, not queen to d7. So bringing the queen all the way back to the 2nd rank with the idea of getting the queen to h6. And this is a really terrible threat. If the queen comes to h6, there's really no defense against queen to g7 checkmate, teaming up with the pawn. But it's also, even though this is sort of a telegraphed threat, it's also really hard to figure out how to stop it. So the king can't come to g7 to protect h6 because, of course, the pawn is defending h7. You can't do anything with these pawns to get in the way of queen to h6. You can't bring your own queen to h3 to defend h6 because, of course, then Kyler just takes. So it's really hard to find a way to stop this. And Wouzier kind of knew this and was kind of looking for a creative way out. Here he plays queen to e6, now threatening this pawn on f6. And here there is this bishop takes on e6 in the position. Kyler did not play this. He actually played an even better move. If you take on e6, then you get pawn takes back. And now if you get queen to h6, then the king can sort of start to run away. So let's just show it. So then you get queen to h6, king runs away, queen check, and this looks like checkmate, but the queen can't come to e7 because the knight defends e7. So still a very, very strong attack for Kyler, but just showing why the move that Kyler played was even better. He just went ahead with his idea of queen to h6, and now there's only one way to prevent checkmate. You can't do anything to stop this queen to g7 other than capturing with the queen on f6, and now Kyler gets to pick up the queen for free. So very similar idea, but before, if you take with the bishop, you lose a bishop, but now if you just wait and play queen to h6, queen takes on f6, now you just pick up the queen for a pawn with the rook, so you're up even more material. So now Kyler is up a queen, and he also has a crushing attack. You could resign here, but Wouzier, of course, he's a great competitor and plays it out. He plays knight to e7, adding some protection to the g6 pawn. Don't forget that this pawn on f7 is pinned by the bishop all the way back on a2, so nice work from this bishop. But Kyler is relentless. He plays rook a to f1, doubling up on the f file. d5 here, blocking the bishop, but just rook 1 to f3, a nice rook lift, and ideas of rook to h3 and a battery on the h file are coming. Rook to c5, there's nothing you can really do here. Rook to h3, and now this is essentially game over here. Wouzier just captures the pawn on c3, hoping to distract Kyler, but Kyler will not be distracted and just plays queen to h7, and this is checkmate. The rook and the queen are lining up on a deadly battery on this h-file. There's a slightly better defense here. You could play rook f to c8, and now after queen to h7, now the king can run away to f8, but it only extends the game by one move, because now you get queen to f7 checkmate, because of course the rook is defending the queen, and this is also checkmate. So any way you scratch it after this, any way you shake it, I don't know what the... Any way you put it, whatever the saying is, any way you put it, after this queen to d2 move by Kyler, there's no real way to prevent this attack. I want to show one other defense here. So here, Awuzie played this queen to e6 move. We saw how that went down. Slightly better defense is king to h8, and now the idea is after queen to h6, you can bring the rook to g8, and now you're protecting the g7 square. But you have a very similar idea. Rook lift, rook to c7, rook to h3, and now you have these issues of same issues of worrying about checkmate. So the queen, you have to give up the queen here and capture the rook on h3, and queen captures back, or pawn captures back. So a very similar position, but here at least you've captured a rook back. So you haven't just given up a queen, but you've given up a queen for a rook, which is still losing. You still have to worry about this threat of checkmate here, and the bishop is still attacking this undefended pawn. So still losing, but at least you have gotten a rook in exchange. So just wanted to show that. But of course, after this d2 move, the game, queen to d2, this game is essentially over. So really fun game, really cool opportunity to see two players who are obviously amazing at football and pretty strong at chess as well. Hopefully we see more games like this, and I'll be sure to analyze them if they do. Let me know if you see any that sort of fit this bill. But thank you so much for watching. Drop a like, drop subscribe. Let me know of other games you'd like me to review, and we'll see you next time.